It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to it. Yes, it is your feel-good breakfast show. It's Expresso. We're live here on S3 on a beautiful Thursday morning. But we know that there's been much devastation out in KZN. As if the first flooding incident wasn't enough, the province of KZN has had to battle another spate of heavy rains with severe flooding, causing widespread destruction and loss of life once again.
In today's edition of So Now What, we're exploring the lasting impact this devastation has had on our people and also the environment, as well as what our leaders can do to prevent these disasters from claiming so many lives ever again. Now, today we're calling upon the legal guidance of expert in environmental law, attorney at the Center for Environmental Rights, Matome Kapa. Were you affected by the KZN floods? We'd like to know. Maybe send us through those voice notes to our WhatsApp line. The number is 063-408-8863. Matome, so good to be able to connect with you on such a sad note, unfortunately. But this being said, you know, the KZN disasters has been so sad. It's affected so many people's lives. But within such a short space, this has happened, you know, continuously. What is the cause of these disasters?
Yeah, no, first of all, thank you for having me on the show, and good morning to everyone, yourselves and the viewers out there. I think first of all, I think it's worth mentioning that I know we say like the first incidents of the floods happened in April, but it's also worth noting that there were floods in KZN in 1987, there were floods in 2017, there were floods in 2019, and then now there are floods again.
They're pretty common, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the president, when he was speaking to the Chamber of Commerce in Durban in April, he quite came out and frankly said that he does not think that the government was prepared to deal with any incidents of this nature. And we've also had a report from the international panel of climate change, which also directly linked climate change to the cause of these floods. So it's quite clear that these floods, the way that they're happening, their severity and the extent in which they're happening and their frequency that they're going to be happening in is a direct result of climate change. So short answer is the cause of these floods is directly linked to climate change.
The signs are all there, but we know that there's been talks around our underpreparedness as a country as far as, you know, infrastructure is concerned. Where do you think we faltered there?
Yeah. So I think in order to answer the question of where we faltered, I want to quote a friend of mine. He's an environmental activist, one of the long-serving environmental activists in Durban. His name is Bobby Peak. He's also the director of an organization called Groundwork. And what he has said to me is that Durban, KZN had good infrastructure, but over time, the infrastructure was allowed to fall apart because of poor maintenance and so on. And from as early as 1995, environmental activists in the Durban area, talking about like an organization like the South Durban Community Environmental Alliance, they have been asking the city to put in place disaster management plans, disaster preparedness plans, and like to put in place measures to ensure that if we're ever to experience things like these, how are we going to deal with it? And then those calls that they have been making, unfortunately, fell on deaf ears.
So where did we go wrong?
So we're here, I think, because we did not listen. You understand? Because when environmental activists came out and said, this is the trajectory that we're looking at in terms of the severity of the weather conditions that are going to be happening in this area, we need to put measures in place to prepare ourselves for the worst. We did not.
It's a dangerous situation.
Definitely. We get that flood water is quite dangerous, but why is landslides and mudslides also so dangerous?
Yeah. Maybe before I answer this question, maybe let me first qualify with, I'm not giving like an expert answer on this because I think you might need like someone like a geologist or an engineer to give you quite a clear answer. But landslides and mudslides obviously happen, they're triggered by like extreme weather events like earthquake or extreme rainfall, and that's when the base of a slope, the foundation gets lost. And what makes it quite dangerous is the force in which the entire slope is going to come down onto the downhill.
Which is obviously what we've been seeing over the past few months in
Yes.
KZN.
Sure. Okay. So we know that there'll be lots of after effects that'll be experienced once the flood waters have gone down. But please do get in touch with us. Send us a WhatsApp voice note and let us know if you are part of the community out in KZN that has been affected by these floods and what you're having to deal with right now. That number is 063-408-8863. We'll see you just now.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to it, your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso, live on S3. And now we're continuing our So Now What legal segment with expert in environmental law, Matome Kapa. In case you missed it earlier on, we discussed that devastating effects that we are seeing in climate change, of course, the floods in particular that have hit KZN so hard. Were you affected by those floods? Let us know. 063-408-8863 on WhatsApp using those voice notes. Matome, thanks for staying with us.
But we know that the South African Weather Service has now increased its level to level 10, a red level 10. What does that mean for us here on the ground and in terms of KZN as well?
Yeah, so the red level 10 is the highest warning level that can be issued by the South African Weather Service. And practically speaking, it means that get out of the area, move to a much safer area. So it just means people must move. But then practically speaking, for people on the ground, obviously, it's you're asking people who have very limited options to find alternative accommodation or to find alternative spaces to live in. And that is what, it's part of the devastation of these floods is a lot of people have been displaced, a lot of people lost their homes, a lot of people lost their businesses, and so it's quite something quite difficult to deal with.
Yeah, we know that the flood damage obviously has been widespread, but poorer communities are, most affected. What can be done to protect those vulnerable communities?
Yeah, I think for me, I think there should be a lot of investment around replanning the city. And the city of Durban has about 600 informal settlements, and some of those were put in there as temporary accommodation that later on became permanent dwellings. And in terms of planning for a better city, we have an opportunity right now because the president has established the Presidential Climate Commission, which is going all over South Africa, consulting different communities, different places around the just transition and our response to climate change. And that opportunity around engaging on the just transition is a great opportunity for us to be able to say, okay, so now how are we going to plan better? How are we going to ensure that when this thing happens next time, we are ready for it? And that starts with making better decisions. I wanted to share with you, we have the Center for Environmental Rights and our partners, we've developed this Just Transition Open Agenda. It's essentially a booklet just details what a just transition is and what are some of those demands in the just transition. I'll just go through a few of those just transition demands. Is a new energy system. So a new energy system that's not reliant on dirty fossil fuels, no more financing of coal, and decommissioning, rehabilitation and restoration of some of the old power stations, try finding ways to live with climate impacts. There are lots of these, and we have copies of these on our website, on the Center for Environmental Rights website. You can
Stunning.
also find it on social media, and if people want hard copies like this, you can also get them on demand.
I love that.
We've seen now that gift of the givers, and so many communities are coming together during this time to really help the KZN communities. But does South Africa have a relief fund for situations like this?
So the relief funds are there, but something that has been that has been happening around KZN, and I think the chief financial officer of the municipality has already spoken about this, around people spreading, saying that people can claim directly from the municipality. And that's something that he has come out and called it misinformation.
Okay, so
And
people can't claim for damages and loss
But-
from municipalities.
yeah, but if you think back to when the floods happened in 1987, there are accounts of people who received compensation from government. So I think government should be compensating people for the losses that they have suffered. But I think if we are going to work towards a more sustainable or a more long-term solution for this type of issues, we should also be looking at the bigger picture. So the bigger picture is communities, people who are going to be affected by climate change coming together and holding government to account. Government has made commitments in terms of the NDC, so that's the nationally determined contribution in terms of the fossil fuels. They are a member of the Paris Agreement. Yeah. They have made serious commitments towards reducing and adapting to climate change.
And it's time to act now, right? Matome Kapa, we can go on all day about all of these subjects that really do need our attention, but please do send us those voice notes because we really do want to hear from those who have directly been affected. 063 408 8863.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Oh, yes, it is your feel-good breakfast show here on S3. What a way to start this Thursday morning. We're, of course, continuing our So Now What legal segment with expert in environmental law, Matome Kapa. Now, in case you missed it, earlier on we discussed the second spate of floods to hit KZN and also the lasting impact it'll have on the communities affected. Now, were you affected by the KZN floods? We'd like to know. Maybe send us through your voice notes to our WhatsApp line, which is 063 408 8863. Matome is standing by to discuss a way forward for us and for KZN. So thank you so much for staying with us.
And Matome, hopefully this conversation really does spark, the need for focus, not just in KZN, but across the country as well, right? As it stands, sewage pipes out in KZN totally damaged, and we are seeing so much spillage that's going into sort of usable water. Can this be fixed? And how can it be fixed? And what rights do people have in that regard?
Yeah, so very tough question. And let me also just qualify it before I answer as not like specialist in like sewage systems. But due to the floods, what we have had is we had loads of water going into in the sewage systems and then clogging it. And as you said, what this is going to cause this spilling over into drinking water or people's living spaces. And what that does in terms of people's rights is the Constitution guarantees everyone a right to an environment that is not harmful to their health or well-being. So now, this is not going to be realized if these pipes are not maintained like this. And as I said, it goes back to the issue that I was speaking about earlier. We need to plan the city better. We need to start re-evaluating all these different systems, some of which have fallen apart because of lack of maintenance or poor maintenance. So we just need to start planning our sewage systems better.
So then? How do we move forward from this? How does KZN and South Africa as a whole move forward with this in terms of infrastructure so that this doesn't happen again when the next flood hits us?
Yeah, so I think South Africa, if we do not manage or if we do not stick to our climate change commitments, or if we do not adapt, if we do not deal with the climate change impacts, I think we are going to see more and more of these type of extreme weather conditions. And also, I'm glad to be on the show today because there is a very good opportunity or a very good moment that's happening right now is that in February, a climate change bill was tabled in Parliament. The comments, written comments on that bill are due tomorrow. The Center for Environmental Rights and a lot of our partners were going to be submitting written comments on that bill. So while we commend the tabling of the bill itself is not perfect. The bill itself still has a lot of issues within it. Some of those issues include the fact that, for example, the climate action plan that they're using is quite outdated. It's from 2015. Some of the provisions in the bill do not have, there isn't any teeth to the bill, so there isn't enforcement measures on the bill. So what we can do as communities or as people who will be affected is we need to start engaging, one, with the Presidential Climate Commission, also with the climate change bill. And if you need information or if you need to understand the climate change bill better, the Center for Environmental Rights is currently developing and rolling out a number of tools that will ensure that people on the street, anyone can be able to understand this bill, how this bill is going to affect them, and what is it that they can do in order to give their opinions on the bill.
Yes.
So please look out for materials on our website, materials on our social media around this climate change bill.
Matome, you've been so fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is Matome Kapa, an attorney at the Center for Environmental Rights. You can visit their website. It's cer.org.za for assistance in terms of matters that have got to do with advocating for environment and environmental subjects and issues faced across the spectrum, not just relating to the floods in KZN. But thank you so much. And our thoughts and prayers certainly do go out to those who have been affected in KZN.